For those of you unenlightened people out there, I am a college student. I am a 19-year-old college student who, in about roughly 2 or 3 weeks, I will be done with my first year of college, and I have a few things to say about it. Because, of course, when I was about to start college, when I was, a wee little freshman all the way up to a big boy senior in high school, I got told the same thing by both, there's hair in my mouth, I got told the same thing by both my parents, my teachers, even some of my friends, because some of my friends already were taking college classes, dual enrollment. I'm not a nerd. I never partook in that. But the one thing everyone said was that college was exponentially more challenging than high school. And ultimately, I'm not going to spoil the fun here. I'll get to it in a minute, but I do have to say a few things first. As you can probably hear, I'm so congested, and so I'm just going to say this right now. Sorry if anything's off in this video. I have a bad migraine right now, and also today is the last break of spring break. So the next video you will see with my face in it will probably be in my dorm room, which sucks. But again, I'll get into it when I talk about today's topic. And also, I think it's funny that the room that I'm in right now it's pretty dark. I have a white my second monitor over here has a white light coming on because I have my college essay on here, one of two that are supposed to be finished this week, but I couldn't finish these in time because I got sick and I'm also lazy. We'll get into it, I promise. So as I stated earlier, a lot of people across my life, especially before college just recently, a lot of people have said that college is exponentially more challenging, more time consuming, more draining than high school. And like everything I do, like every choice I make, I weigh the pros and the cons. Of course, now having a little bit of college experience under my belt, I can confidently say that all of them were wrong, but not for the reasons you might think. Let me just put this out of the way here. My college schedule and my high school schedule are two completely different things, right? First of all, my 4 years of high school had the same schedule consistently. I went to school class started at 7:40 in the morning, ended at 2:40 p.m. I left the building at 6:20, 6:30, and when I say the building, I mean home. I left here at 6 to 6:30 in the morning every single day, 5 days a week. Got to school, started class at 7:40, left right at 2:50 because 2:40, and then I take a few minutes to get out. And I spent 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 1 hour and 30 minutes per class. And you might be wondering, well, dude, why are you making this so dramatic? That's what I go through right now. Or you might be thinking, why are you pausing between your words? It's because looking back on it, I genuinely don't know how I was able to do that. And I can't help but laugh at thinking about my schedule right now and what my schedule will be next college semester, because I have that figured out, thankfully. But my schedule now consists of me waking up at 8 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, going to class at 9 in the morning, coming back, chilling out for a little bit, going to class at 1, going back home after class ends at 2:15, so an hour and 15-minute long class. That's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. On Tuesday, I don't have any class. On Tuesday, I get to sleep in, I get to do whatever I want, and then Thursday, I have a class at 1 p.m. Two very different schedules, and I get really exhausted now from just an hour and 15 minutes for 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's my computer science class. It's pretty, there's also hair in my mouth. It's pretty exhausting because the teacher talks like I talk in front of videos. He talks super fast and he's very redundant and he's very repetitive, and it makes me fall asleep. It doesn't make me fall asleep. I don't actually fall asleep. I do pay attention in class. I take notes. Don't worry about it. So obviously you can tell there's some pretty stark differences between college and high school schedules. In college, I have a ton more time to myself. I have a lot more time to just wake up, get situated. I have a lot more time to get to class because, of course, my housing campus and my class campus are a few miles apart, 6 or 7 miles, not too bad. But in high school, everything is in one spot. Everything is in one big building, and every class is usually on the same hall. So you can tell that each side has its respective pros and cons. High school, it's a lot more time actually spent inside of a building, and it's a lot more time spent in class. But with high school, it's a lot more scheduled. It's a lot more consistent. With college, I have a lot more time by myself. I have a lot more time to get done with homework, which I will touch on later, because that's a big part of the difference between college and high school. With college, I have time to sleep in sometimes. With college, I have time to just wake up and experience the morning for a little bit. Instead of waking up and 10 minutes later, I have to be out the door. But speaking of homework and just class workload in general, high school and college are extremely different. I, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, was one of those students that coasted, I guess, through high school. My grades weren't particularly good. Well, I mean, they had to have been because I got to a pretty good school, but my grades in high school consisted, I was a high B, low A student. So roughly 85 to 90, 92-ish for my high school grades. That's pretty good. I don't recall ever having to really study in high school. I don't recall really being buried with homework because I went to an art school, and a lot of students in the art school were very concerned with the amount of workload they got. And I never really understood that. And for those who don't know, in high school, I was an orchestra major. I played the viola. I don't now because I don't really have enough time for it. And also a viola is like $800. It's just not feasible for me right now. I wish I could, but maybe in the future. So in high school, my workload was never really an issue. I came home and I just got on my computer and played video games. I didn't really have too much homework. I don't really recall having to study for a test as bad as I did in college, which I'm going to talk about right now because, oh boy, it's very different. So when you transition to college from high school, you will notice one thing immediately, and that is you are a lot more expected by your teachers and by, your caretakers. By them, you are expected to take care of your homework by yourself. I don't know why I worded that so weird. I'm just, again, sorry, migraine. Yeah, I know, bullshit excuse, whatever. In college, you are expected to take care of everything by yourself because in college, you are an adult. You are recognized as adults by professors. You're recognized as adults by other adults because if you're living in a dorm like I am, you're going to be living with other adults. And that feels weird to say. I'm only 19. I'm still a kid, but my roommate's also 19. And everyone I see is an adult. It's really weird. And sometimes in college, you will see professors who are the same age as you. Imagine walking into your ninth grade class at like 7:40 in the morning and you just see another ninth grader there. Wild. It's so surreal. Well, I mean, it was only surreal for the first couple weeks and then I got used to it because, man, I'll never forget that math class. I'd rather forget about it. I got a 97 on that final because I missed one part in one question. Ooh, I was so mad. But of course, with the added on responsibility that you have now as a college student, your teachers they kind of assume that you're used to this already. They kind of just are like, hey, I'm going to give you this assignment and I'm going to not update you about it for weeks until it's actually due the next day. And you better take care of it because you're an adult and you know how to do this stuff, which unfortunately was an adjustment I had to take care of. It was a time management issue that I had to conquer pretty quickly if I wanted to succeed in college. But you shouldn't be too worried about it. It wasn't too bad for me. The trick is just surround yourself with people. Either do this. Either one, surround yourself with people who know what they're doing, or two, surround yourself with absolutely no one. Unfortunately, I did more of the latter. I did more of option two. I sadly, I hate to say this, but I'm a pretty lonely college student. I do live with my roommate, but outside of that, I don't hang out with my friends to study too much because my friends and my schedules, they are very different. They're very extremely different, actually. And that's another thing you'll realize in college is that everyone's schedule is different. In high school, all of your friends have the same thing at the same time. In college, that's not the case. My roommate, for example, has a class at 7 p.m. I couldn't even imagine doing that. It's an hour and 15 minutes of class at 7 p.m. at night. You know what I'm doing at 7 p.m.? Either my ass is asleep in that bed or I'm in the gym pumping iron. 7 p.m. I can't imagine people taking a night class. It's just insane to me. Imagine having a final at 7 p.m. Actually, my computer science final's at 5 p.m., so that's not going to be fun, but whatever. And that's another thing you'll understand when you get to college. Tests are either super, super friendly to your grade or they're the scariest shit on the planet. I remember, you also probably remember, I was talking so much about my computer science test, my first computer science test. I got a 100 on it. I still don't know how I did it. I have no idea. Actually, I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but I thought that if I failed this test, my major would be ruined because it's a computer science test and I'm a computer science major. Well, cybersecurity major, but computer science, it's still in my blood, still in my DNA. And I had to take this test, and if I failed it, I'd have to drop the class. And if I had to drop the class, that was my only major class. I couldn't take another major class. I'd be very behind. But another thing you'll recognize in college that is completely different from high school is that grading and the way things are graded isn't dependent on the curriculum or the system. It's dependent on the professor, which is either an extremely good or an extremely bad thing. Last semester for my sociology class, I had a professor that accidentally leaked the answers to the final. It was great. It was amazing. You won't find someone like that in high school. Or I mean, at least I didn't. In college, at least in my experience, you will be given a lot more homework. You will be given a lot more time to do some big assignments like this essay over here. I was given a week to do that. But you will also be expected a lot more. A lot more of your effort will be put into just studying outside of class. A lot of what your grades are depend on you. A lot of how your grades end up are extremely dependent on your actions. They're dependent on your time management, because in college, you can do anything. You're an adult. In college, you can go underage drinking. In college, you can skip class, because ultimately it's like a reverse ransom situation. You're taken hostage, and the bank robber's like, give me $1 million and I'll set this guy free. No, instead you're paying $1 million to be taken hostage essentially. You're paying money to go to class. So if you skip class or if you miss class, you're wasting money, which don't let that thought get to your head too much, because there are some points in time in college where you will definitely have the opportunity to skip class without any repercussions. I'm not saying this just to clear my consciousness, okay? That English class, I have a 97 in it right now. Don't worry about it, I promise. And in college, you will be expected to schedule your own stuff. You will be expected to check out your syllabus. You will be expected to pay your dues. It's all very different from high school. It's all very real. It's very scary. But if I had one recommendation, if I had one thing I could recommend to all of your new freshmen coming in, I don't know if you're watching this video and if you're a freshman or whatever, but one thing is, don't rush it and don't be too hard on yourself, because it's new. My parents talked to me about this when I was, the night before, actually, I drove to college. They told me that everyone in the situation is just like you. Everyone is scared. Everyone's moving away from their parents. Everyone is in the same boat. I remember one thing I was primarily scared about was having to park my car 15 minutes away from my dorm, which is still completely stupid. I'm still pissed off about that. But they told me everyone else's car is going to be there. Everyone is going to have a culture shock. Everyone's going to have a reality change. Everyone's going to reality check, not reality change. Everyone is going to be in the same boat as you. So you might be scared, but you're not going to be the only one scared. You might be, you might miss a sleep on the first couple of days. You might be homesick, but everyone's going to be missing sleep. Everyone's going to be homesick. But like everyone, you're going to get used to it. And ultimately, you're going to be okay. And again, don't rush it. Don't rush anything in general, because stuff happens at the exact point in time that it's supposed to, even if it doesn't feel like that. So my final verdict is that college is substantially easier than high school, but not for the reasons you might think. The classwork relatively is easier. The tests, a little bit trickier, a little bit harder, a little bit more promiscuous. I don't know why I thought about that word, but they're a little bit more precise. That's the word. They're a little bit more tricky to deal with. You are given a lot more homework in college, but you're also given a lot more time to allocate to that homework. You're in college given a lot more responsibility. You are given a lot more opportunity to be responsible in college. Whereas in high school, you're doing the same thing every single day. In college, you will spend a lot less time actually listening to someone teach you, which I think is great. Other people will disagree with me. College is a lot more of a hands-on school experience, and I personally really like that. And I think it was a change I needed to finally be successful in school and for that success to actually mean something. So, with that being said, stay safe.